Did you know that the Seventh-day Adventist and the Jehovah Witness originated out of a false prophet? Did you know that? Out of a false prophet. This is something that we talked about on our live today on Facebook and YouTube. If you ever want to join us for a live Monday through Friday, then join us at 10:30 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube of Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. One of the intriguing things that we talked about was the fact that the Bible actually talks about if you can tell a true prophet and a false prophet by the fact of if they make a prophecy and the prophecy does not come true, then you are to recognize the person as a fake prophet. But when money and people are already involved, instead of recognizing it's a fake prophet, what they do is go through the great disappointment and they create their own religion. Let me give you an example. We talked about the Millerites who came about through William Miller in the 1800s. William Miller had predicted or prophesied that Jesus would return in 1844, I believe on October 2nd of 1844. Of course, this prophecy didn't happen. So what did the Millerites do at that time frame? Well, they reconstructed. They changed it. Through the great disappointment, they changed it around and said that, well, what he really was saying, what the prophecy really was talking about, that this would be the second advent of Jesus, that it would be the beginning of the time frame that Jesus is going to then return. So they added some vagueness to it so that there's not a hard date on when it's going to happen. And then later on, Ellen G. White, who started the Seventh-day Adventist, she said that, hey, Jesus is going to come before I die, and therefore the Second Adventism was started, and they had to get themselves right of making sure they practiced the Sabbath. But then she died, so they had to reorganize and restructure her prophecy as well. But Seventh-day Adventist comes out of the Millerites. Now around 1930, you had another group break off from the Millerites who were disappointed with all these false prophecies of William Miller and Ellen G. White. And that is what created the Jehovah Witness, who instead of giving a hard date, they just say that the 144,000 will be sealed. And once that 144,000 are sealed, that is when Christ will return. But what happened? The 144,000, once they reached the number of 144,000, Jesus didn't come. It didn't happen. So they changed it to say that, oh, well, see, the 144,000, they're sealed and they're going to meet up with Jesus and live with God in the heavens. But a new earth will be created, and those who are not of the 144,000, they will live here on the new earth while the 144,000 are up there. So they changed it and made it vague. The moment that Miller's prophecy didn't happen, the religion should have ended. The moment Ellen G. White's, it should have ended. I think it was Joseph Smith. No, not Joseph Smith. I forgot the person who started the Jehovah Witness. But the moment that his prophecy failed, the religion should have ended. But because there's people and money, the religion has to continue. And this is the problem that we have with religion and all its prophecies. Christianity should have been ended because the prophecy was that Jesus will return before this generation ended. This is why Paul and all the other first century Christians and second century Christians, they believed that he would return by the time 40 years had went by. So by the 70s, in the 70s CE, it should have all ended. Jesus should have returned, but he didn't. So they had to write new stories. But then Paul took it a little further, and they had to write new stories. And then those stories had to become vague and expanded so that people would believe that it's for a later time. Revelations was actually talking about it ending during that time frame, during the time frame of Rome. But it didn't end it during the time frame of Domitian. But it didn't end. So now they had to extrapolate it even more and more and make it even more vague and extend it and extend it. The end time will never come. Ever. And all of these are false prophets. So you can either stay stuck or you can free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.